Let's call the Senate to order. Members, please take your seats. Sergeant Arms, please secure the chamber doors. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. President.
All right, Senators, on this beautiful morning of March 4th, we are so pleased to have Pastor Seshan Kuforiji of Redeemed Christian Church of God. It's the 5th. On this beautiful March 5th. And the Redeemed Christian Church of God is in Parkville, Maryland, a guest of the distinguished senator from the 8th District. Please rise for the invocation.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Shall we pray? Almighty God, the creator of the heaven and the earth, the undisputable ruler of the universe, we thank you for these great men and women you have chosen to lead and to direct the affairs of the state of Maryland. We beseech you, God, the fountain of the wisdom, to bless these, our leaders, with pure wisdom and knowledge as they make laws for this land. We ask, O Lord, that you teach them and direct them as they lead us. Give them a sound mind and clarity of vision. Inspire them to lead us through the path of justice, equity, and fairness. We ask that you bless the land of Maryland with heavenly prosperity and abundance. Let there be peace and tranquility in this land. We pray for unity and oneness among our leaders. Let them work together as a united voice for the peace and progress of our dear state. All these we have asked in your most holy name. Amen.
Recognize the senator from District 8.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to thank Pastor Seshan Kuforiji for delivering today's invocation. In District 8, he's known as PSK, and I'm so happy that he is here today because today is his birthday. So happy birthday, PSK.
Happy birthday.
Under his leadership, the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Christ Villa, has consistently demonstrated what it means to put faith into action. Through outreach efforts that meet both spiritual and practical needs, they provide steady support to those who need it most. Their ongoing food distribution ministry, in particular, continues to reach families throughout District 8 and beyond, offering not just nourishment, but hope and dignity. The church has become a pillar of faith in our community, and I am honored to work alongside PSK and his congregation in supporting the families that we both serve. Mr. President, I respectfully request that today's invocation be journalized. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Without objection, we will journalize the wonderful pastor's remarks and invocation today, and thank him for being here with us. Thank you. Excellent. All right. Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 42 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland is now again back in session. Senators, we have a little bit of an Annapolis bug going around, so please remember we're missing some folks because the communicable diseases are certainly present here in the spring of March. So remember, wash hands, sanitizer, please, all the appropriate things, so we can keep everybody here. I think we have a resolution today. Are we ready? All right, if we could. We are very pleased today to have with us a number of individuals who are doing Blue Ribbon Schools. Of course, we've had our Teachers of the Year, we've had our Psychologists of the Year, our School Educators here. Now, these are our schools that are doing some of the best work in our entire across the state of Maryland that certainly deserve this reward. We have their principals, I believe, are here with us today, as well as our superintendent, Dr. Carrie Wright, who we are always so pleased, and she's doing such an amazing job here for us. If we could please introduce the Blue Ribbon awardees.
Baltimore Polytechnic Institute, Baltimore City Public Schools. Diamond Elementary School, Montgomery County Public Schools. Little Flower School, Archdiocese of Washington. Myersville Elementary School, Frederick County Public Schools. St. Louis School, Archdiocese of Baltimore. Stoneleigh Elementary School, Baltimore County Public Schools. And Wilson Wims Elementary School, Montgomery County Public Schools.
Before we read the resolution, just want to make sure that we introduce the individuals who are here with us. For Baltimore City Schools and Baltimore Polytechnic, we have Chief Tina Hike Hubbard, as well as Principal Mark Sawyer, who's on the floor with us. Please. At Diamond Elementary School, we are Superintendent Dr. Thomas Taylor. On the floor with us, we have Principal Dan Walder. At the Little Flower School, we have Superintendent Kelly Brandeman and Principal Meredith Murkow. Myersville Elementary in Frederick, we have Superintendent Cheryl Dyson and Principal Dana Austin. At St. Louis School, we have Superintendent Senior Patricia McCarran and Principal Deborah Thomas. At Stoneleigh Elementary in Baltimore County, we have Superintendent Miriam Rogers and Principal Deidre Lynch. And then in Montgomery County, we have Superintendent Dr. Taylor, who we mentioned above, and Principal Kevin Burns. We want to thank these incredible school leaders. I have a little special note for the Poly principal. My son Caleb just got into Poly, so he's looking forward to going next year. So he's going to be one of the engineers, as well as all the amazing Blue Ribbon schools. So just a slight bias here today. If we could, Madam Clerk, if we could please read the resolution in full.
Be it hereby known to all that the Senate of Maryland offers its sincerest congratulations to the Maryland Blue Ribbon Schools in recognition of having the great honor of being named a 2025 Blue Ribbon School for your excellence in academic achievement and commitment to student success. The entire membership extends its best wishes on this memorable occasion and directs this resolution be presented on this 5th day of March 2026.
The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? If so, the clerk will take the call. To the wonderful leaders of our Maryland Blue Ribbon Schools, the Senate of Maryland unanimously celebrates your success and wishes you ongoing, amazing work in the years ahead. Congratulations. Thank you all very much for being here with us. All right, I think we have some introductions today. Yes, Senator from District 6.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have an intern this year. She was born in Alabama, raised in Georgia, but she has a BA in political science in Marshall University and is currently completing a paralegal in Anne Arundel County Community College. It is my pleasure to introduce her in finishing this session strong, and her name is Nisi Chapman. Please give her a Senate warm welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator from Frederick City.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like everyone to join me in welcoming Council Member Sarah Hempel-Arani. She is visiting us today in the gallery, and she is here today with a bunch of other municipal officials. Thanks for joining us.
Wonderful. Senator from the 45th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. I get the proud privilege, humble honor to be able to lift up an organization that has been doing work for the 30+ years. Child First Authority is in the stands in the balcony, Mr. President, and they're one of the organizations that has 12 community schools at this moment, and 8 of them without a school time at this time, Mr. President. When I think about the leadership of Director Brooks, Mr. Hunt, even my community school coordinator that I hold in such dear respect, Harvey Miles, but more importantly, at this moment, I think about our past leaders and shoulders that we stand on, and Bishop Douglas Miles, and how much he loved that respective organization, Child First Authority. Sure. If you can give them a round of applause, that would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Senator. Welcome. Thank you for your great work. Thank you. Senator from Baltimore County.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. If the colleagues, can you please join me in welcoming all of the individuals associated with Leadership Baltimore County. They are here today. I hope they are upstairs.
Yep. Right
Yay, you are. And their fearless leader, Amanda Zinn. Welcome.
Wonderful. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Senator from Prince George's.
Thank you. Colleagues, on behalf of the Prince George's County delegation, I want to congratulate the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission and Prince George's County Planning Board Chairman, Mr. Darrell Barnes. Recently appointed in July 2025 by Prince George's County Executive Aisha Braveboy and confirmed by the Prince George's County Council, Barnes currently leads the full commission as chairman. In his role, he maintains oversight of a bi-county agency with more than 6,000 full and part-time employees and a unionized park police force, providing services to the nearly 2 million residents of Montgomery and Prince George's counties. Barnes brings a deep understanding of the region from his 8 years of service in the state of Maryland legislature and more than 20 years of entrepreneurship experience. From 2015 to 2023, he served in the Maryland General Assembly as state delegate, representing the Legislative District 25. During his tenure, he served among the highest-ranking members of the House of Delegates as Chief Deputy Majority Whip, and he was also the chairman of the Maryland Legislative Black Caucus, elected for 3 consecutive terms to the largest black caucus in the United States. Barnes was member of Ways and Means Committee and the Maryland Veterans Caucus, as well as chairman of the Revenues and Local Revenues Subcommittee. We're thankful for Chairman Barnes' leadership and congratulate him and staff as they celebrate Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Advocacy Day here in Annapolis.
Excellent. Welcome. Great to see you. Great to see you, former delegate, now director. Great to see you.
Mr. President.
Yes, Recognizing Senator from Prince George's.
Thank you, thank you. I also just rise to say I'm grateful for Chairman Barnes, and I must tell you all, my wife Lauren said, make sure next time you see him, uplift him because he's doing a great job, and we use the services of particularly Prince George's Parks, and so I just want to uplift him and the team, and they're doing a great job.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very good. Very good. Back to front, we have a senator from the 27th, and we'll move up the row.
Well, appreciate it, Mr. President. Senators, as was mentioned earlier, today is the Maryland Municipal League Advocacy Day, and this is their 90th year. We have over 100 mayors, council members, and staff across the state. Let's welcome them with a round of applause.
Welcome. Thank you. Senator from District 8.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to welcome Mr. James Lang, President of Compliance Construction and Remediation Incorporated, who is up in the gallery today. He's shadowing me to learn a bit more about what we do here in the Senate. Colleagues, please give Mr. Lang a warm welcome. Thank you.
Welcome. Senator from Montgomery County.
Thank you, Mr. President. And as much as I appreciate the sentiment of uplifting the good Chair Barnes, the Montgomery County Senate delegation is pleased to welcome to the floor our exceptionally talented and very handsome and charming Chair of the Montgomery County Planning Board, Mr. Artie Harris. Now, as you can see, I was not exaggerating about that whole charming thing, was I? Chair Harris leads the 5-member board responsible for advancing large and small-scale land use planning in our Montgomery County, approving development applications, and of course advancing our park plans across Montgomery County. And in addition to being chair of the Montgomery County Planning Board, he serves as the vice chair of the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, where he works very closely with his colleagues from Prince George's County and ensures that we are doing the very best to enhance the quality of life for all of the residents in the Bi-County area. So with that, welcome, Mr. Chair Harris. Appreciate having you here today.
Welcome. Thank you. Senator from the 38th.
Good morning, Mr. President, friends and colleagues. I have two introductions. One, we've heard our mayors are in town, but I want to give special recognition to those mayors that traveled all the way from the Eastern Shore. We have Mayor Todd Knock from Pocomoke, MML President of 25 and 26. Berlin Mayor Zach Tyndall, Snow Hill Mayor Janet Simpson, Chrisfield Mayor Darlene Taylor, and Ocean City Mayor Rick Meehan. I know they might be moving back and forth between the galleries, but I wanted to give them credit for making this trip up. And my second introduction is my intern, Kayla Rocco, if she could stand. And Kayla Rocco is a rock star. She is from Ocean City. She's a graduate of Stephen Decatur High School. She attends University of Maryland College Park, and she's doing a fantastic job and has the heart of true public service. So please welcome her. Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome. Thank you for joining us, and thank you to all the mayors who are here with us. Senator from the Middle Eastern Shore, followed by Senator from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be very quick. I just want to help my colleague out because there were a couple other Eastern Shore mayors who made it over also. Our new mayor for Hurlock, Mayor Murphy, and our mayor for Cambridge, Mayor Cephas, in the front row. So excellent. I want to make sure they didn't feel left out.
Don't worry, they won't feel that. And to all the mayors, we love you all, each and every one of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. Thank you for your time and your energy, and the real work is hitting on the ground and where the mayors are. So, Senator from the 45th.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is only the second time that I came around for a second bite at the apple. Mr. President, I saw a friend that was in that balcony, and I just want to give her a praise while this is the moment. I saw Amy Klein. I'm not sure if you know her, Mr. President, but any type of major project, I don't care if it was Roberta's house, the new library, the 700 East Chase Street with the housing, she's always at the ribbon cutting and always making sure that Baltimore City is represented from that standpoint. Amy, I just want to say thank you for being a friend, thank you for being a partner, but more importantly, thank you for being a lover of our city. So if you can, give her a round of applause.
Excellent. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Great to see you, Amy. Before we jump into things, I also have three wonderful constituents here who are leaders in the 46th District who are joining us. I have Matthew Farkowski, Rachel Wagner, and Tara McNulty, who are in South Baltimore and just such remarkable community leaders. Thank them for the work that they do every day. Thank you for being here, and if we could give them a warm Senate welcome. Thank you all. Good to see you. All right, I think we are ready to jump into the work today. We have a fair amount. We'll see how far we get. We may not get through everything today, but we'll see how far we can go. So we consider the reading of the journal from the prior legislative day. We still have some bills getting introduced. Let's go to calendar 43. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 996, Senator Zucker, Family Law and State Government, Child Protection, the Office of Child Welfare's Ombudsman, rules.
All right, the bill will be referred to the Rules Committee. We have bond initiatives, calendar 35. Clerk will read the bond initiatives.
Number 1, Senator McCray, 4M Swim and Recreation Club, budget
Majority
taxation.
Leader moves, so we consider the reading of the bill of the bond initiatives. They are referred to the Capital Budget Subcommittee. We have message from the House. Bills passed over. This is number 11. Clerk will read the bills.
House Bill 107, Delegate Allen, Motor Vehicles Intelligent Speed Assistance System Pilot Program established, judicial proceedings.
Majority Leader moves, so be considered the reading of the calendar. They will be referred to their appropriate standing committees. We have a message from the Governor, from the Executive. Clerk will please read the message.
Dear President Ferguson, I'm writing to inform you of my intent to withdraw several individuals previously submitted to the Senate for advice and consent. Thank you for your assistance and support. Sincerely, Wes Moore, Governor.
The message having been read is ordered journalized. Senators These are some administrative changes to the executive nominations term lengths, not necessarily full withdrawals. So we will refer them to the Executive Nominations Committee for consideration. We now also have a subsequent appointments list. Another message from the executive. Clerk will read the message.
Dear President Ferguson, in accordance with Article 2, Section 13 of the Constitution of Maryland, I'm pleased to submit the following appointment nominations for confirmation by the Maryland State Senate. These individuals bring exceptional knowledge and ability to the offices for which they have been nominated. I'm confident they will provide the strength and of experience and leadership to install confidence among all citizens and ensure we succeed in our commitment. Sincerely, Westmore, Governor.
All right, these are supplemental green bag appointments that we have agreed to accept after the green bag date. So we will refer these to the Executive Nominations Committee. Does mean that the Executive Nominations Committee is likely going to be pretty busy here near the end. So not a small list. This is a supplemental. So we will work through them. All right, we have a report of the Committee on Rules. This is report number 1. Clerk will read the report.
Report of the Committee on Rules. The following bills have been re-referred. Senate Bill 956, Senator Jennings, Maryland Transportation Authority.
Majority Leader moves. So we consider the reading of the bills. These were bills that were taken up yesterday. Let's recognize the chair of the Rules Committee. These are all bills that were voted in the Rules Committee yesterday. Is that correct?
Yes, we move favorable on these bills.
Excellent. All right. So all of these will be re-referred
appropriate committee. Thank
to
you.
their appropriate standing committees. All right. Let's take the layover. This is number 8. Layover calendar number 8. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 100, Chair, Education, Energy, and the Environment Committee, Election Law, Early Voting Centers, Bus Stops. Question is in the adoption of the 2 amendments offered from the floor by Senator Ellis.
All right, Senators, the question is on the floor amendment. Recognize the maker of the floor amendment.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, being part of this great deliberative body, I would like to withdraw this amendment and submit another amendment.
All right, the senator moves to withdraw the amendment. The amendment having been withdrawn, the senator has now a supplemental amendment or substitute amendment, potentially. Pages will collect and distribute the amendment. And Senator, if you just give us just a moment to get it on the board, make sure that we have everything correctly. 326. Excellent. All right, Senator may explain the amendment.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, sometimes we're in this, I can say this ivy tower of the Senate chamber. We maybe sometimes lose a little connection with what's really happening in our state. The floor leader mentioned that on this bill that all our voting centers are accessible. I brought up quite a few reputable organizations in the state that say, hey, you know, our constituents have issues with accessibility with voting. I have like around 20 of those organizations. In the interest of time, I only read maybe 8 letters from those organizations, including the NAACP in Prince George's County, sending a letter talking about inaccessibility of voting locations. So we have the Maryland Catholic Conference, the AARP, who looks out for seniors. We have the Maryland Federation of National Active Retired Federal Employees. They talk about their example of proms in Anne Arundel County, voting locations and accessibility. Common Cause Maryland, the Maryland Delaware Synod, the Maryland Center for Independent Living, Maryland Developmental Disabilities Council, and Maryland, the National Federation of the Blind, just on, saying, hey, we have an issue with accessibility at our voting locations. And so I tend to try to listen to my constituents and the problems they have and see what we can do here in Annapolis to fix these problems. And so this bill came along, which I love this bill, where buses that transport a lot of individuals who are low income and don't have transportation to really take them to the voting locations and to divert off their route. A great bill. And I'm just concerned that someone, I mentioned yesterday, example of someone who, a bus driver who might not be amenable to the votes that he thinks that his passengers might drop them off anywhere else where they'll have trouble getting to the voting location. So just a little guardrails put in on this bill to make sure the buses drop off individuals at a location that is accessible. And listening to the debate, the senator from District 7 brought up a legitimate point. So we went back and we redrafted the amendment to take his consideration into account, and so many other members. And so this is what this new amendment does, is basically talks about accessibility, making sure that our voting locations are accessible to voters with physical disabilities in accordance with the American with Disabilities Act. This great law passed by the Bush administration, George W. Bush, really is a godsend to disabled Americans, to really allow so many of us, whether it's developmental disabilities, disabled veterans, just seniors who have access issues, to be able to get to places that they need to get, whether it's shopping, whether it's voting. And so we want to make sure that Maryland is in fact adhering to that law. I mean, we just cannot join the lawbreakers who basically do what they want. We have to make sure that we obey all these laws. And if it's a good law, especially, we have absolutely no reason to disregard that law. So this bill, this amendment, just kind of enshrined that in our voting laws in Maryland, and also directly to the issue debated yesterday. Section 2 of this amendment says, directly with the bus stops, say when stopping under subparagraph 1 of this paragraph, the bus shall, to the maximum extent practical and consistent with traffic laws and safety standards, stop at locations that provides an accessible path to the entrance doors of the early voting centers. And so we put those guardrails in there. You know, I try to listen to my colleagues. That was a great suggestion from the senator from District 7. And Mr. President, I would ask for acceptance of this amendment and, if necessary, a roll call vote.
Thank you, Senator. Recognize the floor leader on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. We really appreciate the interest and the advocacy for people with disabilities of the good senator from District 28. I'm going to read just 6 lines of the bill, and I appreciate that the senator referenced to the maximum extent possible. In the bill, it says, if an early voting center is located within 1/2 mile of a fixed local bus route, each bus operating on that route shall, to the maximum extent practicable and consistent with accessibility requirements, allow passengers to embark and disembark at the entrance of the early voting center on the days the center is open for voting, for early voting. So with that, we're going to resist the amendment. We think it's a good bill. It's a modest bill. It makes sense, and we'd like to move it forward. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right, on the amendment, any further discussion on the amendment? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 34 votes in the negative, the senator's amendment fails. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 100 is ordered printed for third reading. All right, we have a special order calendar. This is calendar number 20. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 463, Senator Muse, Municipalities Vagrancy Repeal of Authority to Prohibit. Question is on the adoption of the favorable report.
Question is on the favorable report. Check with the chair of the committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd just like to special order this into the appropriate time on Tuesday.
Okay, senators move to special order the bill to the appropriate time on Tuesday. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Let's go to special order calendar number 21. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 56, Chair, Education, Energy, and the Environment Committee, Maryland Longitudinal Data Systems Center, external data sharing with third-party data centers for multi-state reporting. Question is in the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable report.
All right, question is on the two committee amendments. Let's check with the floor leader on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have a substitute amendment.
Okay, substitute amendment from the committee.
From the committee, correct.
Pages will collect and distribute. Senator has moved to withdraw the committee amendments and substitute them with the new committee amendments. If there are no objections, the motion carries, and the pages will distribute the new substitute committee amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, when we had a good opportunity to have a conversation with the director of the Maryland Longitudinal Data Center, and after that discussion, we decided that these amendments would be appropriate. And what they do is that they limit the number of data sharing agreements with third-party data centers to one at a time. And that seemed appropriate to all of us. It also requires consultation with the state chief data officer and the state chief privacy officer before signing with the third-party data center. Finally, there is a notice provision but to the EEE and the Ways Committee 30 days after entering into one of these data sharing agreements. The center should alert us to the name, summary of data shared, and the purpose and value to the state. And then finally, at the end of each year, when there is an agreement, including the status of the agreement, how much data is being used to further purposes and shared value, and any violations of the agreement. And I would like to move the substitute committee amendment.
All right, the floor leader has moved for the adoption of the substitute committee amendments. Any discussions? Any objections? Without objection, the substitute committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Yes, recognize the minority whip on the report.
Mr. President, I just want to thank the committee. We were working together, a bunch of us in both houses working together on this issue just so we can make sure we have clarity on how data will be used. But I just want to thank the floor leader and the committee for working together, and also for the folks from the Longitude Data Systems Center. They cooperated and talked with us as well, so I just wanted to say appreciate that.
Excellent. Thank you, Senator. I had a feeling this one was going to land in a crossover special, but it seems that the reasonableness has prevailed. We figured out a path forward, always good. All right. On the favorable report as amended, any further discussion, any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 56 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Let's go to special order calendar number 22, another one that's hanging around for a while. See where we are today. Clerk will read the bill. Here you go.
Senate Bill 108, Chair, Education, Energy, and the Environment Committee, Environment, Water, Resources, and Wetlands Enforcement. Question is in the adoption as the favorable report as amended.
All right, question is on the favorable report as amended. Any further discussion?
President?
Yes, recognize the minority leader on the report.
Just to make sure that we are in the same position when we left, the report needs to be adopted. Was the new committee amendment?
The substitute committee amendments were adopted. Those are the amendments to the bill. We still have the favorable report as amended in front of the body.
Okay, so that's what I was. So now we're talking about, or discussion is involving
substance of the amended bill.
Okay, thank you very much. So with that, Mr. President, would the floor leader yield for
floor leader yields,
please?
Senator may proceed.
Thank you very much. So we have discussed this bill a number of times on what the Department of Environment is trying to do with respect to this piece of legislation. And it has been told to us that they're trying to make the enforcement process a little bit easier. But at the same time, it's been mentioned several times that there are a number of so-called violations that are out there, and the department has only been able to use their resources for, I guess, the most egregious violations and trying to handle that. And with respect to their staffing, they don't have enough time to go after everybody else. And so that's from what I'm reading, the true purpose of this bill is to find a way to go after more potential violators with respect to the two sections of this bill, which is Title 5 and Title 16. Based on what the new amendments are that were just adopted, does that make it any different from what the Department of Environment brought in with respect to how the process will occur once a notice of a violation has been issued? Or does that make it more cumbersome for them to move forward with how they are going to investigate and adjudicate a violation?
I believe it makes it more clear what the process is, so that now they will have to have a letter and then they can have a meeting before they actually get any kind of administrative penalty. And previously, all of these people who are violating the law would have to go to court, right? And so fundamentally, this bill is about enforcing the law and making sure that there are ways to enforce that fit the nature of the crime. The big crimes should go to court and be settled there, where there is uncapped, damages. The smaller crimes or penalty, or the smaller infractions, can be settled, in the administrative way.
Okay, so with respect to so-called crimes, maybe violations rather than crimes.
I think it's better, sorry.
There's now a more formal process that will bring it to an administrative hearing rather than a circuit court hearing. Is that the way that this is moving?
They're both there, right? So there is still the ability to go to civil court if it rises to that level, but now there is a faster, less expensive way to get the attention of the people who are violating our environmental laws.
Okay. And so, just like, I guess, any laws in the state, there has to be some type of statute of limitations, right? And if you have compliance inspectors from the Department of Environment running around, trespassing into people's properties, looking for violations, because in a sense that's what they're, the second part of this bill is. And we'll go very clearly. The first part of the bill really deals with dams and some of those that are falling out of compliance. But dams are usually owned by, either a business entity or maybe a homeowners association or something like that, but generally not necessarily an individual. But the Title 16 of the bill deals with a lot of other things that could really apply to residential properties. So with respect to, for instance, a violation that might have occurred on somebody's private property, and the Department of Environment now, trespasses on that property, takes a look at things and comes up and says that, hey, there's this violation. Is there a statute of limitations on that violation and when it may have occurred or not occurred?
The department is not going to pursue past violations administratively. Only the new violations that occur.
Did they define what new would be? I mean, it's hard to say what new would be if you're looking at, the Department of Environment uses Google Earth all the time and comes back and they say that, we took this picture back in, 1980 and there wasn't a structure on a pier, and now there appears to be a structure on the pier. We can't find any type of, permitting process or something that went through. We're going to go now and cite a citation and violation of that. So how would they define new with respect to that?
Okay. The standard law is when they knew or should have known about the violation.
So that can go back in time forever? Could it go back in time that the property has transferred hands from one owner to another owner?
No, the statute of limitations that exists for civil penalties is 3 years, and for administrative penalties is 5 years from the date the department knew or should have probably known of the violation.
From the date the department should have known?
Yes.
Not sure how that would work. How the
So, I mean, there could have been a violation that's been there for 20 years, but if it was reported 2 years ago, then it would fall within the statute of limitations.
So that goes back to my question. If the quote-unquote violation occurred 20 years ago or sometime within that period of time, the MDE inspector goes out there and says, hey, this looks different than it did 20 years ago, or the last time they took Google Earth photos of something, they can still say that this is out of compliance?
If the violation is on the violator, not the owner. So if the property has changed hands, the new owners would not be liable.
Again, the concern many of us had was Title 16 of the bill that deals with actually a number of different, we can say construction projects, dredging projects, that go through the Board of Public Works to get approved. I think the Wetlands Administrator does a lot of those things. In Section 16 talks about non-water dependent structures. When MDE brought the bill into the committee, did they discuss Title 16 and what the potential non-water dependent structures could be?
We've heard a lot of bills this year. I can't remember if they discussed that particular part of the bill or not.
Okay. In reading their written testimony supporting their bill, they don't mention it there at all. Again, this bill seems to appear to come across as though it's trying to fix issues related to dams, and that's what the first 7 pages of the bill are about. At the very end, it applies this same process through to Title 16. Title 16 deals with non-water dependent structures. Here's what a few of those non-water dependent structures are: a dwelling on a pier, a restaurant or office on a pier, a small-scale renewable energy system on a pier, or the repair of a bulkhead. These are all issues that are in Title 16 that this bill is now taking into consideration as well, too.
Would the senator yield for a question?
Of course.
So hypothetically, if there is a restaurant on a pier that does not have a permit, should I feel safe going to that restaurant and drinking the water out of that restaurant?
Well, first of all, Department of Environment, I don't think, does any type of inspections for safety reasons. But I would assume that if the permit was pulled from a county to build that pier, that construction inspectors would go out there to see if that's acceptable or not. So, we're dealing now with whether it was potentially permitted or not permitted from an environmental standard, not necessarily a construction standard.
I think that the environment has also delegated to the Department of Health, the enforcement of water issues as well. So we might have to take that bit offline.
Yeah, I think with respect to water quality and things of that nature, but I don't know if it responds to the safety of a structure on a pier.
The nature of the questioning perplexes me, Senator, because we're arguing about existing law and whether existing law should be enforced. And there are thousands of our constituents who are getting their permits and following the law and not being fined. If you look at the environmental compliance report from 24 and 25, there's between 1,000 and 2,000 of these permits going out every year, yet there are 27, with 7 that are very high risk that are out of compliance. So I would certainly hope that you would be in supportive of us upholding the law of the state of Maryland.
Are those numbers with respect to the dams, or is that violations through not only subtitle 5, but also Title 16?
Those were specifically to the tidal wetlands, 27 tidal wetlands.
Tidal wetlands.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've got the report here if you'd like to read it.
Yeah. So you brought up again, is this something that you're looking at? And I think everybody does feel that things should be done in compliance with the laws, right? The concern is now we're giving MDE, I think, more latitude to go back and look at things that may not have gone through a process, that may have been done, for a previous landowner, that may have been a repair that might not have gotten the appropriate permit, may have been with respect to what the definition of a non-mortar dependent structure is. So when you're talking about the report that you saw, is it those types of issues that the department provided you, those types of so-called violations that are out there?
So I think I heard two questions. The answer to your first question is they're only going to use the administrative penalties for the new violations that go forward, right? And the types of things that we were talking about, I think that we all care about. We're talking about filling open tidal wetlands, which could result in dead zones. We're talking about installing, riprap along a shoreline without a permit, which could affect navigation. We're talking about dredging, which could impact submerged aquatic vegetation, or SAV. We're talking about, residential, potentially landscaping projects that fail to do proper silt fencing and then wind up smothering really important habitat for fish and crabs. We're also talking about these unpermitted accessory structures like the restaurant that you mentioned that may result in public health issues if water or drinking lines are installed. There's also issues with impeding spawning fish migration and waterfowl breeding and shellfish harvesting. So all of those issues, colleagues, are important environmental laws that we have passed. And what we are doing is saying that if there's a violation, we are letting MDE say we can give you a scaling fine up to $5,000. We can handle this out of the courts. Currently, colleagues, all you can do is take them to court, civil court, where you will have to hire a lawyer and there will be expenses involved. This is a cost-effective way to make sure that we are upholding the laws of the state of Maryland.
But when you're talking about all that, you did go into what the fines could be. Could be up to $5,000 a day, right?
So they can, but only after the process, and there's a number of considerations, which is what I felt was really important to put into the law. So in making the determinations of the penalty, the department must consider the willingness and knowledge of the violation, the actual harm to the environment, the remediation or restoration cost, the economic reasonableness of correcting the violation, whether the violation is part of a pattern of violations, and the good faith efforts to comply. So if it was in my district, and I do have a dam, if somebody was making a good faith effort to comply with the department and there was not a pattern of non-compliance, I am assuming that the department would work with my constituent to go to the Dam Safety Fund and correct the dam. I don't have shoreline in my district, but I'm sure if they did, they would follow the same approach.
I would like to say that's a dangerous assumption for those of us that have an awful lot of shoreline in our district and have seen the actions of MDE and what their compliance teams talks about. And actually, I do want to bring up a memo that came from an enforcement coordinator with the enforcement division at MDE, and it was written to the Director of Water and Science Administration, the Deputy Director of Water and Science Administration, the Acting Program Manager for Compliance Programs, the Chief of Enforcement for Compliance Programs, the Enforcement Section Manager for Compliance Program, and in it, it's about an inspection that the department conducted an inspection and it observed a violation of Environmental Article Title 16, which is the title of the bill that we had the concern about. And just to be very clear, we've talked about this a number of times. If this bill was truly just about the dams and the restoration of those and bringing those back online, I think this bill would have gone through this chamber weeks ago. But it's very concerning to those of us that represent areas with a lot of shoreline. So again, this goes back to Title 16 of the bill and says that there is a compliance issue. And it talks about what during the inspection, a non-water dependent structure was observed. And in this case, it was actually a houseboat. A boat that was titled by DNR, put on a boat lift, and is being utilized as an Airbnb. Now, when in our investigation, in our conversation with this is happening in many places across the state. Whether it's a marina, whether it's on a lift, off a lift, people are using it. In fact, right down here in Annapolis, in the city harbor, I think the Annapolis Department of Tourism has a boat that's just sitting there. It's in the water, and it's used as an office space for people to come up and talk about tourism in Annapolis. So, obviously that has been approved. But the reason why there is such concern about MDE is because this side of the room feels very targeted by a lot of the things that have occurred with MDE in the past, that have occurred with so-called violations, so-called deciding what happens on personal property with respect to a possible repair of a bulkhead or a possible adding of riprap to protect one's property. But what's very concerning at the end of this, when they talked about all the problems, or the quote-unquote problem, it mentioned that the owner of this property, and talked about what business he's an owner of, and what else, a volunteer thing that he did. But it also said that this owner is a member of the Queen Anne's County Republican Central Committee. Now, in all of the types of environmental compliance laws, is there anything that would state that a member of a Republican Central Committee is more apt to being in violation of something? And that might be a rhetorical question. I'm not asking you to say that. But that's what brings up the distrust that many of us have with the Department of Environment. And that's what brings up when we talk about this bill that was supposed to be about dams and brings in all of these waterway and riparian issues, that there's concerns over and over again that we're going to see MDE in our areas picking on things because of who we are. And this is very evident, that's saying that this individual is a member of the Republican Central Committee, and therefore they thought that was relevant in a confidential memo that says here are the problems that they've uncovered. And so when you get into that, we are concerned that there's not in this bill a real issue for cure. There's not a real, hey, here is the violation. You can cure it in a cost-effective manner within a certain period of time. The bill does not outline that. The bill just says that we will have an administrative process and that you can agree to a meeting. Agree to a meeting when the government shows up and says you're in violation of something usually doesn't go very well unless you have a number of lawyers that are there to protect you, in which this case, this constituent has had to do the same. But that's what's concerning about this bill, is how broad it got when MDE included Title 16 of this into this bill. And they took it away from the dams and they brought it to any type of riparian issue that could be within the state of Maryland.
I think I'm not sure I heard a question, but what I can say is that I know that MDE and the Department of Health are going after multiple of my constituents in my district for well and septic. Like anytime you want to cover your front porch or expand a rec room, they're saying you need a new septic system. And that really, really bothers me. So I think MDE could do a lot better at selective enforcement. However, that is not this bill. This bill is about giving them one more tool so that they can have that conversation and go after the people. Like I said, there's like 2,000 some people who are going out who are getting these permits. There's 27 bad actors. You just need to get the permit before you fix your bulkhead or before you build a restaurant on top of the pier. So I hope that answered your question.
First of all, I respect that you brought up well and septic because
well,
I didn't even want to
problem.
go there with
if we could please ask and answer the question.
No.
Senator was.
Was there a question, Mr. President? Mr. President, was there a question?
Yeah. No, I said I was appreciative that you brought that up because we were not even going to talk about well and septic, but that's a symptom of the broader problem with MDE. That we have gone through a number of people, residential owners that have gone through and had testing done, was able to get qualified to get a septic system, and MDE has now come back and says, oh no, that doesn't work anymore. So that's why there's a problem with this bill, and that's why when MDE comes in, and again, this is a departmental bill. This doesn't mean that the General Assembly has to accept departmental bills. That's what our job is, to evaluate these bills and make sure that they're adequate and they're necessary to do. This bill just feels like it gives MDE even more enforcement powers for lesser things, because it does put this into an administrative hearing, and we've all seen what administrative hearings occur. Administrative judge is appointed by the governor, very different in the process when MDE has a team of lawyers that are up there representing the department, and you have, potential violators going up there having to defend themselves. So taking it into that just means that that's actually just another step before it does get to circuit court, because that's the only fair shake that a lot of these, potential violators are occurring. So I know I'm not asking a question per se, but I do feel that even the amendments that brought on do not go far enough to show that what is the statute of limitations, what the timeline for cure is, what the timeline would be before $5,000 a day penalties go into place, and again, what the process is for them to bring it to the next step if they felt that that's necessary. So with that, I'm going to have an amendment that I want to take out Title 16. We've talked about that. Again, I think that if we were able to make sure that part came out of the bill, that we could be in agreement that dams and violators that have dams need to be done. But I don't think that at least a number of people that represent communities that have lots of shoreline are willing to give MDE even more enforcement power over what could be minimal violations. So with that, I appreciate the conversation and the responses. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right, question remains on the favorable report as amended. Any further discussion on the report? Any further discussion? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. We have amendments to the bill or its title. Recognize the minority leader who has an amendment for the bill. Pages will collect and distribute the senator's amendment. As the amendments being distributed, St. Mary's High School is joining us here in the gallery. If we could please give them a warm Senate welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Mr. President, I have an announcement.
Yes, please, Mr. Minority Whip.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Just as while we have this break, I also was informed that our Carroll County Student Government Association students and staff are or were in the gallery, so I'd ask the body to give them a warm welcome as well.
We
they
thank
can
them.
Stand
Thank them for
there.
being here if they were here. We've had a number of non-public schools have come through, which we have been trying to catch them but we didn't want to interrupt the debate, so for those we missed, we apologize. But yes, Senator from the 29th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Also like to give a shout out, see up in the gallery that we have the St. Mary's Our Lady Star of the Sea from Calvert County.
Ah, very good.
Thank
Excellent.
you.
Welcome to Our Lady Star of the Sea. Welcome. All right, let's go back to the minority leader has an amendment. Please, Senator, could you explain the amendment?
Thank you, Mr. President. As I was stating in the previous conversation, the concern of many of us is the inclusion of Title 16 in this legislation. And again, while we can understand the merits of the bill to the
Mr. Minority Leader, I'm so sorry. Do we have Mason in the gallery as well? Was Mason in the, nope, we may have missed. I'm sorry for that. Apologies. Okay, if there was a specific shout out to legislative
I'll start all over again
please
for my
do,
first
please
line
do,
of questioning.
Please do. Please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. No, with respect to this amendment, again, as we discussed earlier, when this bill came in and in the conversations we've had and even looking back at the committee hearing and the testimony, it was really focused on the dams. And it was focused, and in fact even goes to several references to the Dam Restoration Fund as far as where fines from violations would occur. That's what seemed to really be the focus of this. And as we see in lots of pieces of legislation, something gets added to the very end of it. And in this case, it was just a reference to Title 16. It didn't even tell you what Title 16 was in the environmental article. Didn't discuss it, didn't say these are the types of things that are on it. And I did bring up a number of things, but they are in reference to structures, to bulkheads, to riprap, to small-scale renewable energy systems that are on pier, repairs, a number of different things that, are all part of the day-to-day life of people that live on, on shorelines, that are responsible, things for people that have to do to sometimes protect their property. And so we wanted to make sure with this amendment that we just strike that part of the bill out and simply just say, you know what, this does not apply to Title 16. If MDE wants to come back and add Title 16 into legislation, then make them do that. Make them come back and explain why that's important. Make them come back and say, here is a list of all the potential violations that are out there. Here are the things that people are not in compliance with, and as a result, we need this. But they didn't do that. They didn't put that in the, they put it in the bill, but they didn't explain it. And their testimony doesn't reference that. And when you see the testimony of Nature Conservancy and Chesapeake Bay Foundation, it all focuses on the dam and the water allocation. So with respect to that, Mr. President, I'm just asking that before we go down a road that can potentially put a lot of honest people that may have done something to protect their shoreline or to do something, or maybe they expanded their pier another 2 feet or something like that. Maybe, the depth of the water had changed or something, or they bought a bigger boat and they did something that was just not at the end of the day the worst thing to do, but now are subject to compliance and potential violations by, MDE compliance officers that are taking party affiliation into respect when it comes to what violations look like. That's very concerning. That should be concerning for everybody. So that, Mr. President, I would just ask that we move the amendment to remove Title 16 from this bill, leave the rest of the bill alone, and at the end of the day, we can come back, and if it's that important for MDE, they can come back with a new bill next year and say why that's important. So with that, Mr. President, I ask to move the amendment.
Thank you, Senator. Let's hear from the floor. Senators move the amendment. Let's hear from the floor leader. Committee response.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Colleagues, there's nothing in this bill that says any of those things cannot happen. They just have to have a permit, and if there is a minor violation, they will have a chance to correct it. Ultimately, if you believe in enforcing, Maryland law, then this is giving MDE a less expensive way for them and a less expensive way for your constituents to uphold the laws that we have already passed. And with that, I would urge a red vote on this amendment.
All right, thank you, Senator. On the amendment, recognize Senator from District 6.
Thank you, Mr. President. In my area, going from the city of Baltimore and going around Fort Howard, Essex, Sparrows Point, Dundalk, all the way up, probably up to Harford County, we have waterfront. We have so much waterfront, it's unbelievable. And so doing something like this, it's a lot going on, Mr. President. As you know, even in the city of Baltimore, they have a lot of waterfront coming down to Fort Howard. And with this amendment, I think it's the right amendment so we can go about it the right way and do another bill. And just knowing that if you think about anybody in this chamber that has waterfront, you should be concerned. So I believe this is the right amendment, Mr. President, and we can go about it in a way that we can have another bill and correct this if we have to. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator.
And if we could have a roll call, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Senator. All right, recognize Senator from the 37th on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill has struck a nerve. This Title 16 is a very emotional topic in my district, and separating it makes perfect sense. And the recommendation to come back and look at this separately, Title 16, I think is by far the most efficient and the most effective way to move this concept forward that MDE is promoting. I'll just share with my colleagues, Title 16, this is if this were to go forward with Title 16, and I'm telling you, we are making a policy step in the wrong direction. Title 16 is flawed, terribly flawed, and we can provide countless examples of how Title 16 is misapplied and misused. And in my district alone, there are so many opportunities that just sit there and dwindle because of MDE regulation in Title 16. And times we've tried to do things that were very productive, very sound, and environmentally friendly, but we couldn't do it because of all the nuances and implementations of Title 16. And the minority leader did such a good job explaining this, but colleagues, you don't understand. MDE changes the rules on their own. Yeah, the boat length was mentioned. just a few years ago, I had to introduce a bill because MDE decided on its own it was going to change the standards for pier permits based off the size of your boat. That doesn't exist anywhere in the law. They fabricated that. And then the bill went away because MDE said they would negotiate a resolution and they were going to have meetings. Well, they had meetings and meetings, but the people involved in this have spent hours of their life going through meetings and being drugged through the coals by MDE in Title 16. It is a horror story. And if you keep Title 16 in this bill, the final vote's going to be very controversial, and you're opening up a can of worms for Title 16 in the future because it's in the furthering what's happening right now with Title 16 is just, you are inviting a lot of legislation. Now, I think our goal is to try to be effective, and what's going on right now is a big problem. So I want to thank the leader for bringing this amendment, and I hope that the body will exercise its judgment and adopt this amendment so that we can move forward and take care of other important issues. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right, question remains on the floor amendment. Yes, recognize the senator from the 29th on the floor amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I could ask the maker of the amendment a question.
Will the maker of the amendment, yep, Senator may proceed.
Are you familiar with the MDE permit process that we just spoke about how that would work?
The MDE permit process probably is one of the most complex permitting processes within the state, especially when it comes to shoreline waterway construction projects, in having to get not only state approval, in many cases federal approval, and at the same time always having to get local approval on any type of waterway construction projects.
So if you were to go and apply for an MDE permit, are you familiar that the cost of that permit just to apply would cost you $750?
As someone who's very familiar with that industry for a period of time, one of the biggest detractions from homeowners going forward with projects is the permitting time and the cost. And in most cases, if you look at a place like the Lower Eastern Shore, where people come down for the summertime, and let's say they wanted to get a permit to put in a lift for a jet ski, that $700 is the permit fee. You're probably looking at a $5,000 jet ski lift, but more so you're looking at a 6 to 8 month process in order to get that very permit.
So, and you've applied for the permit, and now you have to do something called, you have to do a design and construction design that has to be submitted. Who is responsible to pay for that?
Obviously, the homeowner, the person that bought whether it's a jet ski or a boat or something along that lines, that wants to make changes to their property to protect that, they're responsible for that.
So the homeowner has had to go through the expense of the permit. They've had to go through the expense of the design. Is there any meeting or any issue that MDE would meet with them and give them a positive, yes, this is the way we're going to do it, or do they just get a letter in the mail saying denied?
MDE for a period of time had what they called the 44-day letter. So actually, if you submit a permit application into MDE, by law they have 45 days on which to respond. On the 44th day, they issue a letter and they'll find something that is out of compliance with that application itself. So again, it starts the clock back off again. But to say that MDE is workable with respect to small things like this, again, not the dams, not what this bill should have been like, but the everyday things that people in your district and my district and many of ours have to deal with, and trying to just get things like jet ski lifts permitted. Yes, I mean, MDE has been known for many years to not be workable with citizens of Maryland.
Okay, and I mean, just my thought, but I would ask you, obviously, there's a saying about, forms of government that get a bigger hammer, right? Is that not the way that you would look at this bill, and that's not the reason behind this amendment?
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the end of the day, when you look at this bill, although they might be saying something is interesting, they had the ability, MDE had the ability to go through this bill and really outline what they wanted to do on potential violations. But again, I'll keep in mind, this bill was about dams, okay? They slide this in at the back end, hoping that it's not noticed, okay? And then they don't talk about it at the committee hearing. The references in their support letters don't reference it. But what they're trying to do is slide this in and give them more authority to go after potential violations. And sure, I think everybody wants to make sure that this is lawful and people are complying within the laws. But at the end of the day, let's have a department then that can respond to the requirements of people and get permits out and get approvals out on a timely basis.
I think we'd all agree with that. Did you see the when we reference to the bill when we talk about Title 16 in the fiscal note? It referenced the fact that general fund expenditures would actually decrease under this bill for the Department of the Environment.
Didn't see that on the fiscal note. No. Sorry.
Yes, and and I would just like your read on that, because obviously they're changing the venue. They're not going to come to the county where the potential violation is. They are changing the rules of evidence and what is being presented. So I just, I think we go back to the bigger hammer, and I would just, I thank you for making the amendment.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator. All right, recognize Minority Whip on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Brian in support of this amendment, and I just want to talk for a moment about what's been laid out here. And I know there's some folks probably in the body that are like, what are we talking about? You know, MDE enforcement and these boat lifts and jet skis. That all sounds like, you know, small potatoes to maybe some people. I'm going to tell you something. We just heard about a $700+ permit just to put in something to help you enjoy yourself at a vacation property. What does that $700 do? And then this long wait. And I've had constituents deal with MD on separate issues in a very similar regulatory fashion. I have the Monocacy River running just past on my district. Not as many of the kind of things that we deal with on the bay side or on the ocean side, but still have had issues with MDE before being very, very unresponsive, very difficult to deal with. And by the way, it goes back a long time. So this is not even a partisan. It is a problem. In the previous administration, I had myself and the senator from District 42 had to go round and around about an issue, a water issue in an area we share in Hampstead. That $750 permit and that long wait for MDE to say no or say your permit's not quite right or your application, what's that adding to our economy? What is that adding to the job creation in our state? Nothing. It's doing nothing. And it's not about a permit to, you know, run an oil refinery, okay? It's talking about putting a jet ski lift or an extra addition to your dock or something like that. And you're literally holding up homeowners from investing and spending money in our economy. And somebody might sneer at a boat or a jet ski being some sort of luxury item. Let me tell you something. This sales tax on that's pretty profitable for the state of Maryland. The jobs that are created in these industries are very profitable for the state of Maryland. So we literally have a department in our state that oftentimes it's the hammer sees a nail. Every hammer sees a nail, and they cut off the nose to spite the face all the time. So all the senator's amendments asking is let's not put that regulatory scheme into this bill about dams, which we all agree private dams need to be carefully looked at, regulated. It's important for safety. Let's not invite other issues into this. So, Mr. President, I mean, I would implore the body on this one. I would have liked this to have been a friendly committee amendment. That this is something we're literally trying to save the state from itself and stop cutting off our nose to spite our face with economic development because we have folks that think putting in a jet ski lift it should have equal scrutiny to, you know, some sort of oil-related or garbage dump or something. And that's what it gets treated like. So, Mr. President, I would strongly ask the body to support this amendment. It's a local courtesy, really, to our friends, particularly with the shoreline area. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. All right, on the amendment, any further discussion on, oh yes, I recognize Senator from Montgomery County on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Look, I very much appreciate my colleagues' assertions with regard to the amendment, but folks, I have a significant investment in shoreline property, and I gotta say, I would not want a neighbor going and putting a jetty out or riprap without the proper permitting that then has an adverse effect on my property. So while I'm hearing a lot about the rights of an individual who may want to just do X or Y, I would much prefer that they go through the permitting process to ensure that I am not adversely affected and impacted by the work that they do on their property that then causes my shoreline to disappear because it builds up in front of their home and it takes away from my own. I think that's what this bill is about, to ensure that we are putting in place the proper precautions so that everyone is taken into consideration, and that's what this is about. We do this in the permitting process everywhere in the state. I can't put up a fence in Montgomery County without a permit, whether I want to do that or not because it's my property. I need to get a permit. And this is nothing more than do the proper process, get your permit. Let's ensure that we are not encroaching on other people's property. And I appreciate the time, Mr. President. I will not be voting in support of the amendment.
Thank you, Senator. Yes, Senator from the 37th.
I just want to remind, thank you, Mr. President. I just want to remind the body, Title 16 is very complicated. This bill is not about Title 16. It's about administrative procedure and MDE. And we are opening up the can of worms about Title 16. You just heard a statement about Title 16, and I can tell you there are constituents that can't restore their shorelines because of the permitting process. It's the process, it's MDE that is the issue. So if you're, the argument that you just heard is actually the opposite of what's actually happening. And Title 16 is a major, major problem. Separating that portion of the bill, putting it off for another day, would be a much more efficient way to handle this. Otherwise, there has got to be some kind of, if you're going to move forward, if this body's going to move forward, there has to be some kind of formal enforcement outside, independent of MDE, to hold them accountable. The reality is that there is permitting. There's nothing about excluding Title 16 from this bill that says that people don't have to get a permit. Getting the permit is the problem. Title 16 is the problem. Title 16 is flawed. You heard the arguments about, protecting the bay. I've got pictures of miles of shoreline that have eroded into the bay because people can't get a permit to protect it, and they want to. And it's just so hypocritical when the state says, we're protecting the environment, when you're not protecting the environment, you're actually hurting the environment. What's going on in the bay with all the sediment, that's directly related to all the problems related to getting a permit and how you go through the permit. This not only addresses future projects, but also addresses the innocent landowners, people who inherit land that have had worked on it they're not even aware of. I have one constituent that inherited land. She didn't even know this, and it had a pile of tires in the woods, which isn't pertinent to this discussion, but she's an innocent landowner and has spent tens of thousands of dollars. Same thing would apply to individuals who inherit land that have had work done that somehow become violators of Title 16. Title 16 is a nightmare. Please don't go there. Accept this amendment.
Sorry, Senator, was there a motion? Sorry. No. Nope. All right. On the amendment, any further? Yes, I recognize the minority leader.
President, thank you. There's been a number of conversations going on back and forth since this has been introduced. Things that maybe we can try to work out with the Department of Environment. Since this bill has not been laid over yet, can I lay over the amendment and the bill under the rule?
The senator's motion is in order. The bill and the amendment will lay over under the rule. All right, we've got a special order calendar number 2323. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 538, Senator McCray, Baltimore City Raffles Organizations affiliated with professional baseball and football teams. Bill is on second reading and open to amendment.
All right, bill is on second reading, open to amendment. Well, we can, but right now it's just open to an amendment to be on third reading. All right, what do we want to do? Let's check the.
I don't want to speak for the senator. He's not here, but he didn't have an issue with it.
Okay, that's right. I thought that was the case. Wouldn't double check. We'll. Okay, look. Well, let's do. Can we special order to the end of the third reading calendar? Just double check. Any objections to that? All right. Without objection, we'll take it up at the end of the third reading calendars. Let's do a quorum call. No, it's all right. We'll take it up at the end. If we do a quorum call.
Mr. President.
All right. Has everyone recorded their... Oh, can we ring the bells, Madam Secretary? I'm sorry. Yes. We have to just vote, just vote, just vote. All right. Do we have everyone here? The clerk will take the call. With 40 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. We have third reading calendar number 20. Clerk will read the calendar.
Senate third reading calendar number 20, consent number 1.
All right, Senators, these are third reading bills on consent calendar number 1. Please take a look. Are there any bills that Senators wish to separate and vote independently? Any discussion of the calendar? If not, third reading, final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate bills on consent calendar number 1, having received a constitutional majority, are declared passed. Let's go to calendar number 21. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill number 9, Senator Brooks, Sales and Use Tax, Tax-Free Day, Veterans.
All right, Senate Bill 9 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 9, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 11, Chair, Education, Energy, and the Environment Committee, Campaign Financing Report Deadline, and Fair Campaign Financing Fund Distributions.
Senate Bill 11 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 35 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 11, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 13, Senator Simon Ayer, Alcoholic Beverages License Fee Refund Requirements Alterations.
Senate Bill 13 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 13, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 18, Senator Emmett Washington, State Board of Social Work Examiners, provisional license to practice social work established.
Senate Bill 18 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 18, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Just so we know, we spoke to the sponsor of this one, and she wanted to move things along. So, clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 23, Senator Kagan, Green and Renewable Energy Efficiency for Nonprofits, Green Loan Program and Fund Establishment.
Senate Bill 23 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 30 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 23, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 24, Chair, Education, Energy, and Environment Committee, State Emergency Medicine Services Board, Public Access Automated External Defibrillator Program, revisions.
Senate Bill 24 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 24, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 30, Baltimore County Senators, Baltimore County Property Tax Credit, Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 34.
Senate Bill 30, third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 30, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 76, Senator Simon Ayer, Anne Arundel County Alcoholic Beverages Class C Veterans Organizations License Membership.
Senate Bill 76 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 76, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 80, Chair, Education, Energy, and the Environment Committee, Maryland Public Ethics Laws, Financial Disclosure Statements, State Officials of and Candidates to be a State Official of the Judicial Branch.
Senate Bill 80 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 80, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 142, Chair, Education, Energy, and the Environment Committee, Maryland Military Department, National Guard, Tuitions Assistant.
Senate Bill 142 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 142, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Let's go to calendar 22. Clerk will read the calendar.
third reading calendar number 22, consent calendar number 2.
All right, this is consent calendar number 2. These are bills out of finance. Senators, please take a look at the bills. Are there any that senators wish to separate? Seeing none, any discussion? If not, third reading, final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, Senate bills on consent calendar number 2 having received a constitutional majority are declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Let's go to 23, which would be the first bill of calendar 23.
Senate Bill 150, Senator Simon Ayer, notation of veteran status, public profiles.
Senate Bill 150 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 150 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 153, Chair, Education, Energy, and Environment Committee, Election Law, Campaign Finance, Entities, Oversight, and Control of Campaign Funds.
Senate Bill 153 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 153 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. 1 second. Okay. All right. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 168, Senator Watson, study to evaluate blockchain-based real property title recordation and verification.
Senate Bill 168 is on third reading for final passage, hexadecimal passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 168 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 197, Chair, Education, Energy, and the Environment Committee, Land Use Comprehensive General Plans, Alteration of Elements.
Senate Bill 197 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 197 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 222, Senator Carrozza, Family Law, Child Custody Evaluations, Qualifications.
Senate Bill 222 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 222 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 238, Senator Augustine, School Psychologist Interstate Licensure Compact.
Senate Bill 238 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 238 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 277, Senator West, Estates and Trust, Venue for Administrative and Judicial Probate and Application of Inheritance Tax.
Senate Bill 277 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 277 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 294, Senator Love, Criminal Procedure, Protection of Identity, a Victim of Sexual Assault or Stalking.
Senate Bill 294 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 294 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 297, Senator Waldstreicher, Vehicle Laws, Manufacturers and Dealers, Prices Listed on Dealer Websites, Jack Fitzgerald Price Transparency Act.
Senate Bill 297 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote?
Mr. President?
Yes, recognize Senator from Montgomery County has 2 minutes to explain his vote.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the senator from District 18. I didn't really, this is the first time I'm looking at the title, Jack Fitzgerald, and he, yeah, I know the senator from District 39, and really probably everyone in this chamber recognizes the great contribution that Jack Fitzgerald had, not only in the state, but really for transparency, and was the epitomized a small business and just great Marylander. So thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to the sponsor.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you. All right, any further senators wish to explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 297, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 300, Senator Hester, Economic Development, Rural Readiness Program, Rural Maryland Capacity Building Fund Establishment.
Senate Bill 300 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 300 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Let's go to calendar 24. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 305, Senator Hedelman, Qualifying Nonprofit Organization, Incarcerated Individual Training and Reentry Grant Fund, Extension.
Senate Bill 305 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 305 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 322, Senator Signor, Courts, Jury Service, Disqualification.
Senate Bill 322 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 32, maybe? The gremlins are 32 votes in the affirmative. Senate Bill 322, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 337, Senator Lewis Young, Correctional Officers Retirement System Membership Clarifications.
Senate Bill 337 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 337, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 351, Senator A. Washington, Private Passenger Motor Vehicle Insurance, use of programs that measure the operation of an insured vehicle.
Senate Bill 351 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 30 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 351, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 357, Senator Bailey, St. Mary's County, Gaming by Qualified Organization, permit required.
Senate Bill 357 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 357, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 360, Senator Henson, Criminal Law, Emergency Response Animal, Prohibited Actions Against.
Senate Bill 360 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 360, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 361, Senator Attar, Baltimore City, Alcoholic Beverages, License Extension.
Senate Bill 361 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 361, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 363, Senator Mounts, Maryland-Ireland Trade Commission, membership and termination altered and extended.
Senate Bill 363 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? You sure? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 43 very good votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 363, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 366, Senator Waldstreicher, Motor Vehicles, Intelligent Speed Assistance System Pilot Program Establishment.
Senate Bill 366 on third reading, final passage. Recognize Senator from the 35th District.
Yes, Mr. President. Would the floor leader please yield for questions?
Senator may proceed.
Happy to.
Thank you. And I apologize, I missed this on second reader. I would have asked this then. But so with this, my understanding is if you have drivers with points on their license, or they could possibly have a suspended or revoked license, this is a pilot program that allows them to drive with some sort of device that like governs the speed.
That's correct.
Can you just briefly explain how that works?
So sure. As many of you know, we have interlock devices for folks who have DUIs. This is essentially, if you analogize that technology, it is a device installed in your vehicle that prevents you from going a certain speed over the speed limit. The MVA would be the ones to determine how far above the speed limit the device would allow you to go. I have driven with one of these in a test vehicle that was here in Annapolis, and it works very effectively and very seamlessly.
So would that be like through GPS technology somehow to, because as the speed limits change, I mean, that would have to
That's
change
correct.
as well.
So it doesn't use your GPS, it uses its own GPS technology, but just like your GPS, it knows the speed limit and makes sure that you stay underneath that, or
So-
at it, or underneath it.
So you say MVA determines the speed. So they could say it's 5 miles per hour over the speed limit or 10. Is there any idea, like talking with them, where they possibly would set that as speed level?
So the other states have done this between the actual speed limit and 10 to 12 miles per hour above the speed limit.
Okay, so just a couple more. What happens if, is that a vehicle that's registered to that person, or what happens if someone else is driving the vehicle and not the person that was under this program? So if they're registered, if they have the vehicle registered in their name, but somebody else is driving it, does it still fall under that?
That's correct. Just like the alcohol interlock, if the device is installed in a vehicle, the other person who may drive that vehicle would be required to honor that for the period in which it is installed. So, for example, if someone in your family got a DUI and had to install an interlock, but that day you happen to be borrowing that vehicle, under current law, you'd have to blow into that interlock because it's installed in that vehicle. Same thing, if someone had repeated driving offenses that under the pilot program allowed them to install this speed governor, the person who happened to be borrowing the vehicle that day would continue to be regulated by that speed governor.
Okay, and one final thing. It looks like this is just dealing with speeding, pretty much. Well, actually, two final. Was distracted driving, like for handheld cell phones? Was that brought into this conversation at all, or it just limited to
speeding and reckless?
Okay, so would that fall under reckless? It seems to me like distracted driving, what I've seen, just driving down the road, it's a lot more problematic people on their phones than going a little over the speed limit.
Yeah, distracted driving is its own offense and is not usually charged or ticketed under reckless driving. Hypothetically, I imagine there is a situation in which a police officer may determine that someone is so distracted that it goes into reckless, but that's not traditionally how it's utilized.
Okay, and just one final, if I may, Mr. President. So does this allow someone to drive that normally before this would not be allowed to drive because the license is suspended?
That's correct. It allows them to choose, with permission of MVA, if their license would be suspended because of accumulated points related to speeding. Under the pilot program, with the assent of the MVA, they could instead choose the speed governor for the period in which the MVA would require it.
Okay. And once again, I apologize for not getting these out on second reader. And
No apologies
appreciate
necessary.
The answers. Yep.
Great. All right. Thank you, Senator. All right. On third reading, final passage, if there's no further discussion, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 34 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 366, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 395, Senator Guile, peer-to-peer car sharing programs, insurance and liability.
Senate Bill 395 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 395, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. I recognize the senator from District 2.
Thank you, Mr. President. Got a vote change here on Senate Bill 297 from no to yes.
297, red to green. If we could have the page, please collect the. Are there any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Recognize the minority whip.
Mr. President, I was going to change a vote, but I'm wondering if I could motion to reconsider the vote by which Senate Bill 197 passed third reader. I am on the prevailing side.
197. Let's see. The senator has moved to reconsider. Let's pull the bill up to see. One moment. We may not have it in the room if it's already passed.
Oh, okay. That's fine. I can do a vote change. I was just thinking there might be a couple other people who want to.
Oh, there's a lot.
Well, maybe. I don't know. It's okay. I don't have to do it. We just. It's already in the House? Okay. Well, Mr. President, I would like to change my vote from green to red on Senate Bill 197.
Okay. All right. The senator's moved to change his vote from
green to red.
Green
on
to
Senate
red.
Bill 197.
Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. All right. All right. Any further action there? Yes, senator from the 37th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm changing my vote from green to red on Senate Bill 197.
197, green to red. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Senator from the 29th.
Thank you, Mr. President. 197 from green to red.
197 green to red. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Senator from District 6.
197 green to red.
Green to red from District 6. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Remember, we got to have the slips too, which we're getting filled out. Any others? Any others? All right. Let's go to calendar 25. 25. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 401, Anne Arundel County Senators, Anne Arundel County Board of License Commissioners and Part-Time Inspectors Compensation.
Senate Bill 401 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 401 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 439, Senator Jackson, Employment Discrimination, Fire and Rescue, Public Safety Employees' Use of Medical Cannabis.
Senate Bill 439 is on third reading for final passage. Recognize the Senator from District 4 on the third reading bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. My apologies. I was out of the chamber when this bill was on second reader. Would the floor leader yield for a question?
Will the floor leader yield? Senator may proceed.
So I just wanted to ask, I know that, and I appreciate you getting me a copy of the bill early for consideration. I wanted to ask you, is there any measurable standard currently that allows us to accurately record the impairment that a subject has from ingestion of cannabis?
Say that one more time.
Is there any measurable standard? Is there any test? Is there anything that is a uniformly applied standard that can be tested in regards to the consumption or ingestion of cannabis currently available that we could then, for accountability, I'm looking at accountability. So my concern is we're looking to move a measure forward that would allow for Department of Fire Rescue employees to smoke marijuana or gummies. Is there any measurable standard to determine the amount of nanograms within the system to accurately determine impairment?
There's no chemical test for that.
There's no chemical test. So how are we supposed to accurately determine through this legislation, this SB 439, how is one to determine if they're impaired? If they come in smelling like marijuana?
Field sobriety test. And fire and rescue employees are trained to look out for those signs of impairment.
Fire rescue employees are
trained
to look out for signs of impairment from cannabis.
Yes.
Well, that's news. I had no idea they were trained to monitor such things. So how does this, in real world application, how does this play out? Because we're not allowing, by the way I read this, we're not going to allow for any type of, this is a very, very significant shift in policy when we're going to allow those that are providing services to our vulnerable family members, and knowing that there is no measurable standard, and those that are trained to identify know, as you mentioned, those other firefighters know that there is no way to accurately identify this. I just don't see how this plays out practically.
Well, this is already in practice in Howard County. Also, currently, employees can utilize opioids for pain and things of that nature, which also can cause impairment.
But they can't come to work high on opioids, and there is a measurable.
Be impaired if they take too much of it.
That's my point. You can't come into work under the influence of opioids and drive a 40,000-pound fire truck.
They can't come to work high on cannabis either.
But what's the difference there? Is there a measurable standard for the opioids?
No.
There's not.
If there is signs of impairment that is recognized by the employees, then they will be handled appropriately.
Appropriately meaning This shows, the way I read this, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this bill actually insulates them from any type of discipline because there is no measurable standard. So how do you discipline someone without being able to prove?
The employers are allowed to set up policies. So like in Howard County, they have to have, they cannot consume cannabis 12 hours before they are to come to work. So they are able to set up policies with regards to cannabis, according to this bill.
So my concern is that I get some guy, I'm having heart issues, and my heart issues go crazier because some dude sits down next to me and is like, yo, man, relax. I'm going to take care of you. I need really sharp responses. I need these people to be very keenly aware. And these people that are doing this have people's lives in their hands. So that's where my concern is. Now, let's take the part out about smelling like cannabis. Let's talk about the people that take a gummy and pop it in their mouth and come to work. There is no smell associated with that.
If there are signs of impairment, that they will be recognized by the employees who are trained to recognize.
Okay, if it's recognized, then how do they identify it's been within 12 hours? Because different people's metabolism processes these.
That's a policy from that Howard County has implemented. But
and how many times has Howard County utilized their?
They cannot be impaired.
How many times has Howard County utilized their policy for discipline against any firefighter?
We don't know that.
We don't know that. So, again, my concern is we are allowing, with no measurable standard in place, the passage of employees to come in impaired and putting liability back on the department or the county because there is no measurable standard to quantify level of impairment.
We're not allowing them to come in to be impaired. If they do come in impaired, then there is a process of which the employer can exercise.
But my point is there's no way to identify it if someone takes a gummy and comes in because there is no measurable standard to prove it. This bill is passing something that's very dangerous that puts liability back on counties.
Impairment is impairment.
Explain it.
Senator from District 8, if you could just keep the mic a little bit closer.
Sorry.
Please.
Okay. Impairment is impairment. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, impairment is impairment. Probably, Senator, isn't the best thing because it's not the best standard to use because impairment there's a wide spectrum of signs and indicators of impairment. Here's my closing question, Mr. President, thank you. Does this bill as crafted, because there is no measurable standard available to quantify impairment, as you said, impairment's impairment, does this bill as written open up liability to municipalities and governments for liability of if someone expires on their watch? Because unlike a vehicle crash, when someone drives a county or state vehicle and they're involved in a collision, there is an automatic requirement that they go get drug tested. This, however, has no such standard because you're not driving, you may not be a driver of a vehicle, but you are someone that is treating someone. So my question is, does this bill leave liability on the departments, on the counties, on the state even, for passage?
It's no different liability than prescription medication.
Okay. So you're saying that it's your opinion that there is no measurable standard of opioids being present. There's no difference in the measurable standard between opioids being present in one's body through a blood test and someone having ingested marijuana or cannabis and the nanograms spectrum that those are calculated on. You're saying there's no difference in the way that those are monitored?
It's the difference between the presence of something chemically and impairment.
Correct. And the difference between an opioid and cannabis is cannabis stays in your system through nanograms for days after you use it, whereas opioids are gone in a very rapid time frame of impairment. Is that an accurate assessment?
It does. That's why what's prohibited is the impairment.
I'm sorry?
That's why what's prohibited is the impairment.
Well, no, what's been prohibited would be the utilization of it 12 hours prior. My point being is there's no standard. The only standard is you keep referencing opioids. Opioids have a percentage. There's a standard. There's a quantifiable, measurable standard that you can pull from one's blood to show impairment. We're having cannabis. There is no measurable standard. The nanograms stay in the system for days afterwards.
Impairment is what's prohibited.
Employment discrimination, use of medical cannabis is what the bill's about, and you're saying that's the impairment's what's prohibited.
Title says. But this is about impairment.
Okay, Mr. President, thank you, Floor Leader.
On the bill? On the bill?
On the bill.
Senator, may proceed.
I think that this is a very, I think this has been rushed way too quickly. I think there's a lot of concerns of the lack of standardization, the accountability, the liability that associated with passing this measure. And when the only thing we're talking about, this body's going to vote on impairment's impairment. There's no measurable standard. These are the people treating your loved ones when you have your parents are in need of an ambulance. These are the people coming when your family members are in a car wreck. These are the people that are coming to treat your children in their moment of need. And our answer is impairment is impairment. That's reckless. That's reckless. We should have a measurable standard that allows and creates a standard that we can prohibit people from coming to work. Those that come to work under the influence of opioids, there is a measurable standard that is quantifiable within the blood that can be taken. Cannabis has no such measurable standard. There is no way to determine if it was taken 12 hours or not prior to. Because if you smoke one joint every other day, you are going to rise above the standard of 5 nanograms that's used out in Colorado. So with that, I would like the body to really consider what you're voting for today and understand that this isn't just about a standard being a standard and liability or impairment's impairment. This is about treating of your loved ones by the most qualified. And doctors can't come to work impaired either, impairment by impairment. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Let's recognize the doctoral senator.
Could the floor leader rise for just a few questions here? So,
yes.
Senator, may proceed.
You know, this is really interesting because in one of my other capacities, I do see firefighters as part of occupational health evaluations and do this annually for quite a few firefighters as well. You know, when it comes to impairment is a clinical judgment, that there is not always a test for impairment. And so, you know, for these firefighters, for example, they're making life and death decisions every single day for every call that they come to, whether it's a fire call or a rescue call, they're making those life and death decisions. Aren't they making a clinical evaluation whether someone can be resuscitated, whether someone is lucid, whether someone is impaired? Aren't they trained to make those decisions?
Yes.
And so, you know, for many employers, there are instances where supervisors have to go reasonable suspicion training, right? These are trainings, and I've led some of these as well, where you are training supervisors to be able to gauge whether someone is impaired or not. Isn't that oftentimes something that employers will require supervisors or individuals who may be in a capacity managing other people to have to go through?
Yes.
And so for instances like this, there are a lot of different things that can impair someone, right? Someone can be impaired because they're sleepy. Someone can be impaired because they have a medical condition. Someone can be impaired because they've had alcohol. Someone can be impaired because they've had cannabis. There are a lot of different reasons someone can be impaired. And what reasonable suspicion training trains supervisors and others to do is to be able to gauge whether someone is impaired or not at that job. Correct?
That is right.
And so in any instance that anyone's at a job, they should not be impaired to begin with. It doesn't matter what they may be impaired because of or what that cause of impairment is. Right?
That is correct.
And so for certain drugs and medications, the tests are not always there. It's not just for cannabis, but even for opioids, there's not a good test to be able to test live whether someone has had opioids that impairs them, because impairment is a clinical judgment. It's not the result of a test, right? And so someone can have had opioids 24 hours ago, 12 hours ago. There's also different types of opioids that could last much longer than other types of opioids. And so how quickly that clears out of a system can vary quite a bit. But it's the impairment, it's the inability to do your job, to hold sound judgment that is actually the problem on the job, not whether or not and how long someone has had that medication or when the last time they had that dose. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
So when it comes to even things like opioids, which I know has been part of this conversation, there is not always a good test to be able to show that someone is impaired because they took it 6 hours ago or 12 hours ago or some other duration ago. It's really just an individual who's coming and unable to do their job. Someone who's not able to do their job shouldn't be there regardless of whatever they're taking, whether it's opioids, which they are allowed to take. Firefighters are allowed to take opioids now, right?
Yes.
And so whether it's opioids, other medications, cannabis, if this were allowed, they should not be coming to, that job impaired. And so, on the liability issue, I think even from this bill, just looking at it, there is nothing in here that prohibits an employer from being able to adopt policies or procedures that would prohibit someone from using this and performing their job if they're impaired, right? So it does not curtail the ability of an employer to have an impairment policy in place that would address those individuals who might have come to work, used whatever substance is permissible, plenty of other medications that are permissible, and the employer has a policy to address impairment. This bill also allows that policy to address impairment as a result of cannabis, right?
That's right.
So there are protections in place in this bill to allow any employer, any supervisor to take that individual offline and tell them to go home because they're impaired regardless of whatever substance is there. And those similar protections are in place for the employer, for any fire and rescue service across the state if this were to pass.
That's right.
And so the employer could still have a zero tolerance policy for any impairment.
That's
correct?
right.
So just to be clear for the body, I think it's important to note that impairment is a clinical judgment. There's been a lot of discussion here taking place about tests, what tests show, how long somebody may have had a dose or not. Impairment is a judgment by a supervisor, someone who cannot do their job, coming in looking like they're tripping over their feet. They can't look straight. They can't handle their usual job responsibilities. They should be taken offline. This would still permit that to happen. This is really just giving our fire and rescue providers another medication, one that this body has approved for the use of everyone else in the state, to be able to address their medical conditions with the proper safeguards in place.
That's right, and it's a medication that would not allow them to be dependent on it, wouldn't have dependency issues, like opioids.
Right, so potentially less dependence issues as a result of this medication. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. All right, let's hear from senators who have not yet spoken. Check with the senator from District 7.
Hey, Mr. President, will the floor leader yield for a question?
Floor yield. Senator may proceed.
Thanks. So my question deals with actually the drivers of the fire engines. I know in Maryland you don't necessarily need a CDL, so I think you need a EVOC, emergency vehicle operator certificate. My question is, with the CDL, you got to take a urine test annually when you do your medical certificate. And I'm trying to find out here if you have to have that for to drive it. I don't know if the senator from District 35 might know. I'm sorry. And I guess my question is it required for, if you're going to be driving the engine, to still have to do the urine test to be a driver?
Yeah.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we take a let's, do you want to make a motion? Just take it to tomorrow. Maybe get some questions answered if we.
Okay. Well, so my question is going to be, if you may give me
the question,
1
then with
minute
the
for
motion.
leeway. Yes.
Yep.
Does the department require the drivers to take a urine test? And if they do and they fail it, what's going to happen with them with this legislation? Because, remember, you got drivers that's their livelihood, is to drive that engine, and if they pop hot and they can't drive anymore, what's going to happen with that? So with that, I'll move with your motion, Mr. President.
All right, Senators moved to special order the bill to the appropriate time tomorrow. Any objections? All right, without objection, we'll take it up tomorrow. Important issue. I think we just want to make sure we get the questions answered and do our diligence here. Let's do this. Let's get through the rest of this calendar, and then we'll pause for the day. If there's, we'll take it up. We have introduction?
No, I was just going to say if we could ring the bell.
Oh, yes, Madam Secretary, could we ring the bells? All right, Madam Clerk, if we could read the next bill.
Senate Bill 440, Senator Gazone, Income Tax Theatrical Production Tax Credit Sunset Extension.
Senate Bill 440 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 39 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 440 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 441, Anne Arundel County Senators, Anne Arundel County Alcoholic Beverages Golf Course License and Sports Activity Venue Licenses.
Senate Bill 441 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 39 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 441 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 447, Senator Guile, Child Abuse and Neglect, Disclosures of Reports and Records.
Senate Bill 447 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 447 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 497, Washington County Senators, Property Tax, City of Hagerstown and the Hagerstown Multi-Use Sports and Events Facility Exemption.
Senate Bill 497 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 497 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 498, Washington County Senators, Washington County Salary Study Commission Membership Alterations.
Senate Bill 498 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 498 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 501, Washington County Senators, Washington County Property Tax Credit Platoon 22, Incorporated.
Senate Bill 501 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 501 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 531, Senator Heddleman, Criminal Procedure, Victims of Sexually Assaultive Behavior, Request for Verbal Acknowledgement, Verbal Waiver, Transparency Act.
Senate Bill 531 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 531 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 533, Frederick County Senators, Frederick County Sheriff's Salary.
Senate Bill 533 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 39 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 533 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. All right, we're going to pause there for the day. We've got a decent amount tomorrow, so we'll have some work to do. Let's go ahead and check with committees. Chair of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Finance will meet at 1:30, 14 bills. It's a late day, 87 witnesses. Thank you.
All right, busy day. Thank you. Chair of AAA.
Thank you, Mr. President. AAA will meet at 1:30 for bill hearings, followed immediately by voting session. 1:30.
Thank you, Senator. Chair of Budget and Tax.
Thank you, Mr. President. 3 subcommittees will meet at 1 o'clock.
Thank you. Judicial Proceedings. 11 tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The Judicial Proceedings Committee will meet today at 1:30 for bill hearings, and then tomorrow morning we'll meet at 9 a.m. for voting.
All right, thank you. All right, any other standing committees? Select committees? Caucuses? Delegations? Yes, Montgomery County delegation.
Thank you, Mr. President. Montgomery County Senate colleagues, we are going to huddle immediately after we get off the floor. Montgomery County delegation room. Please feel free to bring lunch, and we got to try to get some bills moving. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right, Anne Arundel delegation.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Anne Arundel County delegation will meet across the hall in the Red Room immediately after floor. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, any other delegations? Any other announcements? Yes, Senator from the 33rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 2 birthdays today.
Ah, yes, we do.
Permission to use the senator's name?
Senator may proceed.
It is first Senator Mike McKay's birthday. If you can give him a round of applause. And of course, it is Senator Ben Kramer's birthday. We give him a round of applause.
The birthday twins. Birthday twins are no place they'd rather be than right here, right here. Twin flames, birthday twins, you know all the. All right, let's see. We've got any other announcement? Yes, Senator from the 40th.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Baltimore City Senate delegation will meet tomorrow at 8:45 a.m.
8:45, excellent. Senators, there is a district night tonight. The 46th district is doing it with the city of Baltimore in Miller West. So 6:30, I believe. 6 to 8 tonight. 6 to 8 tonight should be a good gathering with some great food coming. So please feel free to stop by for dinner. Yes, Senator from Prince George's, Calvert Charles.
Appreciate it, Mr. President. Thank you for the reminder. Tonight is district night for District 27 as well, and we're across the hall from District 46. So appreciate that.
Miller's going to be rocking. Excellent. All right. Any other announcements? Any other announcements? If not, let's do a quorum call before we adjourn.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 42 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland is still in session, recognizing the Deputy Assistant Majority Leader. Oh, I'm sorry. Whoa. Oh.
Majority Leader is here, Mr. President.
Recognizing the wonderful and amazing and incredible, the best ever Majority Leader that has been known to any state's legislature. She wasn't feeling well. You know, I was worried that, you know. I got nothing. This is like 2 fatal flaws this session, I'll tell you. I know.
I can't even answer for that.
Okay.
Madam Majority Leader?
Why, thank you. I move the Senate of Maryland stand adjourned until Friday, March 6th at 11 a.m.
Without objection. So what an amazing job by our Majority Leader.